The cameras flashed. The crowd froze. A 14-month whirlwind of romance, red carpets, and baby announcements suddenly hit a brick wall. Pete Davidson and Elsie Hewitt are over. They have a baby together. Welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
Yeah, and this one is, it is an incredibly fast timeline to unravel today.
Oh, totally.
Because we're looking at an acceleration that went from, like, a first date, separation, all before the dust even had a chance to settle.
Right, and when you pull together all the articles, the insider reports, and this is the crazy part, the actual financial footprints left behind, this deep dive becomes about so much more than just, a standard celebrity breakup.
Oh, for sure.
We're looking at the intense physiological reality of a difficult postpartum period, the brutal mechanics of a modern touring schedule, and these hidden high net worth real estate maneuvers that actually mapped out this split long before the public had any idea.
Yeah, the contrast between what was happening on, like, social media and what was happening in private legal offices is, well, it's staggering once you see the timeline laid out.
It really is. So let's anchor ourselves in that timeline first, because you really have to see the sheer velocity of these events to understand why the infrastructure of their relationship just completely collapsed.
Right, it's fast.
Super fast. So they went public in March of 2025. By July of 2025, they announced the pregnancy. And Elsie actually kind of leaned into the suddenness of it on social media, right? She wrote, well, now everyone knows we had sex.
Yeah, making a joke out of the shock value.
Exactly. Then fast forward to December 12th, 2025, and their daughter, Scottie Rose, is born after a grueling 23-hour labor. Yeah. And then by May 14th, 2026, so less than a year and a half after their red carpet debut, the breakup is official.
It's just wild.
Yeah.
And, the reports circulating in outlets like People magazine,
Yeah.
they suggest a fundamental lack of foundational time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, insiders noted they didn't know each other very well when the pregnancy happened, and they were already struggling to adjust. So you have these two individuals attempting to construct a lifelong partnership in real time under massive public scrutiny.
While simultaneously absorbing the systemic shock of an unexpected pregnancy.
Exactly. It's a lot.
I was thinking about this, and was this relationship kind of like a tech startup that tried to scale way too fast?
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right, because it's like they built the penthouse before pouring the foundation. They acquired the ultimate long-term investment, having a baby, before they even built the server capacity to handle daily operations.
That is spot on.
And the moment that system was put under load, like right after Scottie Rose was born, the geographical divide just fractured everything. Yeah. Pete had recently stepped away from Saturday Night Live, and his career engine shifted entirely to this relentless cross-country touring schedule.
Which, creates a severe operational bottleneck for the family unit.
Right.
Because right around the time an infant hits that crucial 5-month developmental leap, Pete is headlining the Netflix Is a Joke Festival in Los Angeles. And he's participating in the roast of Kevin Hart. He is legally, contractually bound to the opposite coast.
And you can't just pause a touring apparatus of that size. Is it fair to blame him for working? A comedy tour at Peace level isn't just like a guy showing up with a microphone.
No, not at all.
It is a multi-million-dollar corporate ecosystem. You've got venue contracts, promoter guarantees, crew payrolls, massive cancellation penalties. So if he stops touring, he effectively chokes off the primary liquid revenue stream that funds their lifestyle.
And funds their child's future.
Exactly.
The narrative often flattens these situations into a simple, moral judgment.
Oh, like he's working so he's an absent partner.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But the economic mechanism of high-level celebrity demands that you strike while your commercial momentum is peaking. You have an impossible choice.
Yeah.
Pete faced pausing his career and cutting off liquid capital, or staying on the road to secure the bag. He was securing the primary capital, but the unavoidable cost of that financial security was his physical absence from the domestic environment.
Which left Elsie in Brooklyn, managing the reality of a newborn entirely isolated.
Yeah, the fourth trimester isolation.
Yes. And that geographical disconnect, it didn't just stay behind closed doors. It forced a reaction that instantly transformed a private struggle into this massive public spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think this is just a standard story of a couple drifting apart, wait until you hear what Elsie posted on TikTok that set the entire internet on fire.
Oh, man. This is where the modern influencer ecosystem just completely collides with personal heartbreak.
It really is. So, on May 16th, 2026, this is just 2 days after the split hit the news, Elsie posted a video on TikTok. Paparazzi photos had been circulating, showing her out walking with the baby, and the internet was doing what the internet does best, right?
Tearing her apart.
Completely, pointing out how exhausted she looked. So in her video response, she looks directly into the camera and says she has a baby to take care of, she has to work to make money, and, quote, she is doing it on my own, which is hard.
See, that phrase, doing it on my own, that is algorithmically explosive.
Yeah.
Because in the momfluencer space, asserting that you are a solo, struggling parent immediately triggers this fierce parasocial defensiveness from millions of followers. It acts as a beacon. It rallies an audience by tapping into a very universal frustration among mothers who feel undersupported.
And she knew exactly what she was doing with that phrasing. And she escalated it, too. Elsie liked a fan comment on that video that called a partner not staying during the postpartum period, quote, insanely loser behavior.
Wow. You're putting it out there.
Right. She later deleted the like, but you know how it goes, the screenshot was already everywhere. Then she posts an Instagram story explicitly asking to hire a paid assistant / mother's helper / nanny type.
Which paints a very specific picture.
It does. And Mother's Day weekend was really the crescendo. While Pete was on stage in LA at the Kevin Hart roast, Elsie posted from her home in Brooklyn about solo parenting, adding the caption, "The silence is deafening."
But, to truly understand why that silence felt so deafening to her, we really have to look beneath the social media drama and examine the physiological reality she was enduring.
Yeah, the medical context here is huge.
It fundamentally shifts how you view her exhaustion. Because in a detailed essay for Elle magazine, Elsie outlined a physical ordeal that began long before the pregnancy. She'd been diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis.
Which, for people who don't know, is far more than just painful cramps. When you look at the mechanics of stage 4 endometriosis, you are talking about endometrial-like tissue growing outside the uterus, invading the ovaries, the fallopian tubes, and sometimes even the bowel.
It's severe internal scarring.
Yeah, it causes chronic systemic inflammation. It's horrible.
Precisely. The tissue actually binds organs together. And Elsie had recently undergone laparoscopic excision surgery, which is a major procedure to physically cut out this invasive tissue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was in the fragile early stages of post-operative recovery, finally expecting her body to stabilize when she became pregnant.
And there's that old medical myth, right, that pregnancy somehow cures endometriosis.
Right, which is so untrue.
Yeah, the reality is that the massive surge in estrogen and the physical shifting of organs can actually plunge a recovering body into chaos. She wrote about how the pregnancy completely derailed her surgical recovery, leaving her constantly sick and trapped in deep, unyielding physical discomfort.
And then the trauma to her body compounded after childbirth. In that same Ellis essay, she detailed a brutal struggle with mastitis.
Oh, that's painful.
It's not just a minor inconvenience. Mastitis occurs when a milk duct becomes clogged and the surrounding breast tissue becomes infected. It causes high fevers, severe swelling, and just agonizing pain.
I mean, think about the logistics of that.
Yeah.
You are recovering from a 23-hour labor. Your chronic endometriosis pain is flaring up because your organs are shifting back. And now you have an acute infection in your chest.
It's a nightmare.
You are spending hours applying ice packs, taking heavy antibiotics, and trying to physically express milk that your body is producing, but that you ultimately cannot feed to your infant because of the infection.
Right. It creates this devastating psychological dissonance.
Right.
Your body is doing what it is biologically programmed to do, but the mechanical failure of the infected ducts prevents the actual nourishment of your child.
Right.
So Elsie made the very rational, necessary choice to switch to formula, to protect her physical recovery and her mental health. But in doing so, she ran headfirst into the intense stigma surrounding breastfeeding.
Yeah, she wrote so powerfully against what she called the quiet shame and the moral hierarchy of modern parenting, which is so true. The cultural expectation that breastfeeding is the only acceptable standard puts an immense burden on mothers whose bodies are simply failing them.
Absolutely.
She desperately needed a situation where feeding wasn't entirely dependent on her battered physical form, where a partner could share the load.
Exactly. When you lay out the mechanics of her physical suffering, the endometriosis, the surgery, the grueling labor, the infected milk ducts, Her TikTok video takes on a completely different weight.
It really does.
The exhaustion the paparazzi captured wasn't just a tired new mom. It was a woman experiencing compounded severe systemic trauma.
And if you are finding these medical and logistical realities as fascinating as we are, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead because we love pulling apart the complex layers behind these viral headlines.
There's always more to the story.
Always. Because while Elsie's physical reality paints a picture of absolute depletion and isolation, Pete's camp was not staying silent. And the moves happening on his end reveal a hidden strategy that completely shifts the timeline of this breakup.
Oh, the public relations battle is one thing.
Yeah.
But the financial mechanics operating in the background tell the actual story of how and when the separation occurred.
Yeah, so let's get into that. Pete's inner circle actively rejected the absent father narrative. They went straight to page 6 and People, stating unequivocally that Pete was providing full financial support.
Right.
They laid out the specifics. He is covering the rent for the Brooklyn home, the daily living expenses, the health insurance, and all costs associated with Scottie Rose. They called the claims of neglect utterly false.
And they emphasize that whenever he is not legally required to be at a venue, he is physically present.
Exactly. Which brings us to a crucial data point uncovered by the brand analysts at Alt Bollywood. This data point proves that the separation was not a sudden emotional rupture triggered by a bad Mother's Day weekend, but a highly orchestrated legal dismantling.
The real estate fire sale.
Yep, the real estate clue.
It's so telling. In late April and early May of 2026, we're talking weeks before Elsie's TikTok and weeks before the official split announcement, Pete quietly initiated a sweeping, aggressive liquidation of his New York real estate portfolio.
Wow.
Yeah. He listed and rapidly closed sales on his longtime upstate New York retreat and his high-value Staten Island luxury condominium.
And when you look at the mechanics of high net worth real estate, things do not move that fast by accident.
No.
You don't just dump millions of dollars of prime property unless you need an immediate, massive influx of liquid cash.
Because in the realm of family law and ultra-wealthy separations, liquidating fixed assets is a primary mechanism for restructuring a household. Since Pete and Elsie were unmarried, the legal framework is completely different than a divorce.
Right, there's no marital assets to just divide.
Exactly. To properly separate while ensuring the mother and child are provided for, you need liquid capital to establish an independent trust.
Right, because real estate isn't nimble. You can't pay Brooklyn rent and set up a multi-million-dollar child support structure with the deed to a Staten Island condo.
You need cash and accounts.
Exactly. So by initiating these sales in April, Pete's legal and financial teams were proactively generating the liquidity required to fully fund Elsie's independent living arrangements and legally lock in a trust fund for Scottie Rose.
And doing this before the public relations announcement is a highly calculated move.
Super smart.
Yeah, because when a celebrity breakup goes public, every asset transfer, every moving truck, and every bank maneuver is suddenly scrutinized by the press.
Oh, people are watching everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By quietly wrapping these property sales in non-disclosure agreements and closing them weeks in advance, Pete secured his daughter's financial future while controlling the privacy of the asset division.
So wait, while the public was reading into cryptic TikToks and analyzing Elsie's captions, Pete was actually quietly building a multi-million-dollar safety net behind the scenes.
That's exactly what the data shows.
It is the ultimate contrast. On one side, you have the messy, viral, deeply emotional, public narrative playing out in TikTok comments and Instagram stories. And on the other side, you have a highly organized, legally sound, multi-million-dollar financial maneuver executing perfectly behind closed doors.
It means the split was likely finalized in legal terms back in March or April.
Wow.
It entirely recontextualizes the narrative. The public assumed they were watching a relationship fall apart in real time in May, but in reality, they were watching the post-game fallout of separation that had already been structurally and financially completed.
That is wild. It really pulls back the curtain on how these massive celebrity entities operate. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next on Starscope Report, because looking at these hidden financial mechanisms is what actually lets you understand the headline.
It changes the lens completely. And when you look at the entirety of this deep dive, from the physical trauma to the real estate liquidations, it leaves us with a provocative new reality to consider about the influencer economy itself.
Oh, I like where this is going. Where do you see this heading?
Well, we often view these public social media posts like Elsie's TikTok as mere vents of frustration or
Mhm.
cries for help.
Right.
But we have to recognize the mechanism of monetization at play. When your personal brand is your primary source of income, monetizing your own heartbreak isn't just venting, it is a vital business survival strategy.
That is a fascinating angle because they're declaring I'm doing it on my own. She isn't just expressing pain, she is actively pivoting her brand.
Precisely. She is transitioning from the celebrity couple demographic into the relatable single mom demographic,
Oh, wow.
which is one of the most fiercely loyal and highly lucrative algorithm spaces on the internet. Her engagement skyrocketed.
I mean, the heartbreak is entirely real. The physical pain is
Yeah.
entirely real. But broadcasting it serves a dual purpose. In the modern attention economy, vulnerability is the ultimate currency.
Exactly. When the relationship ended, Elsie didn't just lose a partner. She had to rapidly adapt her business model to survive the fallout.
It really blurs the line between genuine human struggle and savvy brand management in a way we've never really seen before. I mean, we assume millions of dollars in fame insulate people from hardship, but the fundamental human struggles, the grueling physical toll of postpartum life, the tension between career ambitions and domestic duties, and the loneliness of a failing relationship, they remain exactly the same. They're just magnified by the flashing bulbs of the paparazzi.
It's a paradox. It really makes you wonder how much of modern celebrity vulnerability is authentic connection and how much is just algorithmic self-preservation.
Such a great point to leave off on. You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.